Eddie Reynoso, longtime friend, trainer, and manager of Canelo, he let it be known then that Canelo Álvarez will not fight on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th or whatever day it lies on, May 4th, 3rd of 2026. Instead, he is going to try to fight in September, and he's pursuing Terence Crawford.
The king of boxing has stepped away from his throne, at least for now. For the first time in more than 5 years, the sport's biggest star is abandoning a date that practically belongs to him. Cinco de Mayo weekend, a slot that has become inseparable from Canelo Álvarez, will be empty in 2026. But this silence is not about rest or vacation. It's a calculated move aimed at rewriting history. Reports confirm Canelo is shelving a May return to focus on one man, the rival who didn't just beat him in September 2025, but shattered the aura of invincibility he spent decades building. The target is September 2026, and the stakes could not be higher. Walking away from a May fight is almost unheard of for Canelo. In boxing, dates matter, and Cinco de Mayo is the sport's most valuable real estate.
Four-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, former two-time undisputed super middleweight Saúl Canelo Álvarez sends a message through his longtime trainer, mentor, and father figures, Eddie Reynoso and Chapo Reynoso, who have been training him for 20 years. And Canelo Álvarez, he lets it be known that the boxing world is calling for him to retire after his performance with Terence "Bud" Crawford in September. But he stated that he is indeed going to push forward. He wants to become a world champion again. He wants to recapture what he left in the ring with Terence Crawford in September. And he plans to also continue to honor the two Mexican holidays that he has been fighting on, which is Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day weekend. And he says, see you guys.
For Canelo to voluntarily leave that weekend vacant speaks volumes about his mindset. This is not a routine break. It's a retreat. By stepping aside, he is quietly admitting that business as usual is finished. The machine that produced blockbuster events year after year has slowed to a halt, and the pause feels intentional rather than optional.
Late to the news, but Canelo Álvarez wants Terence Crawford rematch, says negotiations are underway for 2026. Now, first off, I expect nothing less from Canelo. He wants to get that fight back because, well, number one, it's a somewhat advantageous matchup at 168 for him, and there's not many other matchups at 168 for Canelo right now that offer him any sort of advantages. Imagine you try to put him in there with the Hamza Shiraz or someone with a bigger frame, longer, taller. I mean, even David Benavidez, before he went and knocked out and absolutely smoked Anthony Yarde, was saying, you know, I'm still entertaining the potential of a Canelo fight. There's not many other people at 168. I mean, maybe if you did Chris Eubank Jr., but after he loses to Conor Benn, what does that fight really even mean? Canelo says, I want my run back. I want my get back, but I gotta be honest, I don't know how this goes well for Canelo in a rematch. Honestly, you look at the first fight, and the things that plagued Canelo were essentially the things that plague him against most boxers. His flat feet, his lack of movement, his lack of volume. He couldn't get to Terence. He was overextending. He was getting caught with counter shots as he overextended. The big shown around, memed, and replayed moment of the fight is Canelo trying to throw a hook and a right hand, and Terence Crawford slipping on the outside and banging the left-hand counter behind it. Canelo was beaten to the punch from distance. He was beaten in exchanges, and even in points in the fight, he was beaten inside by Terence Crawford. This was I wouldn't say dominant, but I would say more one-sided than I thought.
The decision has sent shockwaves through the industry because it exposes a vulnerability rarely seen. Canelo usually controls the calendar, telling networks, opponents, and venues when to be ready. After losing his undisputed super middleweight crown, that leverage is gone. Eddie Reynoso confirmed the plan, stating clearly there will be no May fight. It breaks a long run of consistency and signals that the camp knows another average showing would be disastrous. They are sacrificing immediate money for a chance at long-term redemption.
He needs to make a change, I think. I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, you know, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But Don't give up. Keep going until you hit him.
Behind the scenes, the situation is more serious than a bruised ego. The delay is driven largely by medical reality. After the punishing loss to Terence Crawford in September 2025, Canelo underwent elbow surgery, a notoriously difficult procedure for power punchers. This wasn't a minor fix. It requires long rehabilitation. At 35, recovery is slower, and the body no longer responds the way it did during his prime years.
You know what? Sometimes you try and your body cannot go, right? That's my frustration. Maybe I can figure out Crawford, but my body cannot go anymore. So I try it, but my body just not let me go. And you need to accept it. That's it.
That creates a massive gap in his career. If he returns in September 2026, it will be a full year between fights, his longest layoff outside of the 2020 shutdowns. For a fighter who thrives on rhythm, inactivity is a dangerous gamble. Ring rust is real, especially when your rival stays sharp. But Canelo appears cornered. With more than 60 professional fights behind him, the wear has caught up, forcing a choice between rushing back and risking everything, or waiting and risking relevance.
He did get elbow surgery on his lead elbow. This was on October 25th. Apparently also had a new child, so congrats to Canelo on the new baby. But he also had the elbow surgery. He is now, I guess, rehabbing that. 4 to 6 weeks for him to resume training, so it's not getting in the way of something in 2026. But what I realistically think Canelo could and should and would do differently for this fight is he would have to fight Terence Crawford like he fought Sergey Kovalev at 175. That's genuinely what he would have to do. He'd have to be lighter on his feet, he'd have to throw more combinations, and he'd have to be quicker with his hands, as he was in that fight. And I'm not saying that he changes everything about himself. Canelo had success in moments with Bud Crawford, but that's what he would have to do, and some, right? He would have to be able to add layers to his game and not be so flat-footed. And if he's going to combination punch, he's got to do so in the fire with Terence Crawford, which going into the first fight, I didn't think Terence Crawford was going to have as much success with his combination punching because he'd have to be in front of the powerful hands of Canelo. But again, he was able to do so off the back foot and front because Canelo threw one at a time. He threw the jab or the right hand, or he threw the hook right hand. And again, Terence Crawford remained mostly southpaw, which does give Canelo problems because now he has to lead with his backhand versus punctuate with it, and his jab gets neutralized, and it's just a mess of a fight for Canelo. It really is. I don't hate that he wants to get that back, and the matchup itself is, again, one of the only ones that Canelo can still have. Make a shit ton of money and potentially not completely kill his star power should he lose. He still has, I think, a couple more fights with the Ring Magazine and Riyadh season that he needs to fulfill his contract. So if he's able to get the rematch with Terence, from his perspective, I understand.
Despite surgery and inactivity, the focus has narrowed to one obsession. There is no tune-up fight. No easy comeback opponent. Eddie Reynoso has been clear. Plan A is Terence "Bud" Crawford. Nothing else matters. Psychologically, it's revealing. Most fighters would rebuild confidence first. Canelo wants the man who embarrassed him. The September 2025 loss wasn't close. It was a unanimous decision masterclass, with Crawford jumping weight classes and still looking superior. That kind of defeat lingers. Canelo is bypassing every contender at 168 and pushing all his chips into a rematch. It's all or nothing. Lose again, and the era ends.
Done him. Benavidez has gone up to there now, and I don't think that's a fight he's going to fancy. I feel like a lot of people are saying he swerved that Benavidez fight, so I don't think he's going to want to go up to light heavyweight and fight him. So it's like the only sensible option, or the only real option, is the rematch. And that's the same for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's now 168 pounds. Who does he fight? Who does he go for next? It's difficult. There's no other real big names. I mean, there's a kid in England called Hamza Shiraz who's tapping on the door for something big. And I had a chat with him yesterday, and he's talking about the Canelo fight, and he'd take that. But realistically, is Canelo Álvarez or Terence Crawford going to want to jump in with Hamza Shiraz? I mean, Shiraz has got a great future ahead of him. I think he's going to do really well. But he's not in that mix, is he? If he gets an opportunity, go for it. I don't think Crawford would be interested. Canelo, it does nothing for him. So these two, really, the only fight for him is the rematch. For me, it's the only real, feasible option that I could see where I'd say, yeah, you know what? This is a fight where the fans may or may not get hold of it. But for me, I don't even want to see it. Terence Crawford dominated that fight so much. And I know it was a little bit nip-tuck at times, but when you look at the art of pugilism and the skill set that came from Terence Crawford and the way he dismantled, dissected, and beat him at his own game towards the end, took Canelo on and beat him at his own game. Terence Crawford it was an easy night's work for him, dare I say, an easy night's work against Canelo Álvarez. And I don't want to rain on this parade, but Canelo is definitely past his best.
But challengers don't control negotiations, and Crawford knows it. When asked about Canelo targeting a rematch, Crawford laughed it off, saying it was news to him. It was subtle, but ruthless. The power dynamic has flipped. For years, fighters chased Canelo. Now, Canelo is chasing Crawford.
Last thing, Canelo said that he might bypass May for a rematch with you in September. Your thoughts?
That's new news for me.
Yeah. Would you be open to the rematch?
Crawford sits comfortably on top, undisputed and with options. He doesn't need Canelo to validate his greatness. He already did that. There's talk of moving up again or chasing other belts. That indifference is unfamiliar territory for Álvarez. To make matters worse, financial demands could derail everything. Rumors from Crawford's camp suggest the rematch price has soared, with figures near $100 million being floated. From Crawford's perspective, it's logical. He already beat the cash cow. To risk it again against a desperate, heavier opponent, the price goes up.
But Terence Crawford deserves it, and he's demanding that he gets $100 million, as he should. As he should. He has more to lose than Canelo Álvarez, and he can get a legacy fight at middleweight to now, I don't want to say pad his stats, but to pad his stats. If he competes at middleweight, right, and becomes undisputed at middleweight, that'll make him a 4-division undisputed champion and a 6-division champion overall, right? He has more to gain than Canelo Álvarez, right? And he has more to lose, right? So the fight did, Saul Canelo Álvarez, it did 45,812,000 live gate, right? And nearly 65,000 people in attendance. So with that said, as I'm saying, right, it was very successful. Now, because of the way the fight, what really wasn't that competitive, I don't know. The demand is not there for the fight. It's just not, right? People are not interested. They saw what they saw. You can't unsee it. And then people immediately started to tell you that Canelo Álvarez ain't the same guy, right? So with that said, you saw what you saw. You can't unsee it. And it only gets worse for Canelo because, again, it's a stylistic matchup issue, period.
That leaves promoters and networks in a bind. Can a rematch justify such a massive payout? The first fight delivered, but the sequel carries less mystery. Negotiations are expected to be tense. Canelo, accustomed to the lion's share, may have to concede ground. Money could be the biggest obstacle, and if Crawford's team holds firm, Plan A could collapse entirely.
Why? He's a competitor. And there's a few things going on here. Number one, there was a rematch clause. And I do know right after the fight, so Canelo Álvarez was like, there was nothing I could do with it. But I think what happens is you start to sit back. Let me look at the fights. Let me think about this. The fight was closer than I thought. That's what Canelo's thinking, right? Because technically it was. All right, when you think about the copy box and shit, put a pin in that. We all know Terence Crawford whooped that man's ass 11 rounds to 1 in reality, all right? But if you count, punches, landed or copy by, statistically, technically, it was a closer fight, okay? Now, Saul Canelo Álvarez also, last time you saw him, he's, nursing and recovering from an elbow surgery, which he had an elbow injury going into the fight. So, you start thinking about stuff like that. I'm talking about if you Canelo, why would you say, let's go ahead with the rematch? I think I got a shot. All right, being a competitor for one. All right, and number two, the fight was closer technically than you thought because you were in there, and in there you felt like you were getting your ass whipped. And number three, you went in there nursing an elbow injury. So it's like, yo, I think I may have a chance if I'm 100% healthy. All right? He feels the same way about Bivol because he had a wrist injury going into the Bivol fight. So it's just, you think about all those things, and like, yeah, let me give myself a shot. All right. But I tell you what I'ma do is get my 20 grand.
If the fight does happen, the central question remains, can Canelo actually win? Manny Pacquiao offered a blunt assessment, saying Canelo looked heavy and slow the first time. His advice was drastic. Lose muscle, regain speed. In the original fight, extra mass didn't add power, it made him a target. At 35, that adjustment is risky. Shedding muscle can sap strength. But standing flat and hunting one shot won't work against Crawford. To win, Canelo must reinvent himself, becoming faster and more mobile, traits that usually fade with age. The experts are saying he needs to turn back the clock 5 years. Very few ever do.
The thing that bothered me, there's only one thing that really did bother me, and that's why I don't want a rematch, I'll be honest. I've been in this business 50 years, too long to fool myself. Those judges should be really, they got to look in the mirror to have it that close. There's no way it was that close. Thank God he dominated. Because otherwise we might be here talking a whole different thing and really going nuts. And I would definitely break this thing.
Yes, you would. I believe you.
And maybe that. And I'd owe money. And I don't care. I would pay it. But at the end of the day, that's why I don't want to see it again. He dominated, and the judges had it that close.
Yeah.
Give the judges another shot at it. Forget about the fighters. I don't want to give the judges another shot at it. How's that? I know a lot of people love me for that. But what are you going to do? I'm going to always say what I believe.
Yeah.
Look, so the issue with Canelo tonight was his feet were too slow, all right? He was looking for looping shots. He didn't throw enough punches at all. Couldn't get his jab established at all. And when you can't get your jab established, it's hard to land your power shots. He was looking to time Crawford. Crawford had the longer reach. He was keeping him at bay, and over the course of Canelo's career, especially the back end, he's got accustomed to fighting a certain style. Keeping his hands up high, walking forward, and Crawford made him pay for that. Years ago, when Canelo first came on the scene, he had more upper body movement. He moved his legs a lot better. He can counterpunch a lot effectively, off the back foot, off the front foot. He did a little bit more. He just got really complacent with one style, and it came back to hunt him. He had no plan B. He had no other options. Crawford took everything away from him. And there were even moments where he would bag up and try to regroup himself, and Crawford knew exactly what he was doing. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're going to take a walk? That's fine. Eat this jab. Not allowing Canelo just to relax. So, look, spectacular performance by Crawford. Canelo, I think this is it for him, to be honest.
Public opinion isn't on his side. Fans across forums and social media remain skeptical. Many believe the gap was too wide to close. Crawford didn't just win, he exposed fundamental issues. A 2026 date feels too far away, especially with Canelo's mileage. Some even see this as a final cash-out rather than a true belief in victory. If he thought he could win, why wait a year? September 2026 now defines Canelo's legacy. He's risking tradition, health, and reputation on one night. If he succeeds, he cements greatness. If not, it won't be a comeback. It will be the end.